Hello and welcome to Sales Peak Studio. My name is Suresh Balasubramanian. Like I keep saying, if there is one thing that can be said to be universally true about human behavior, it is that all of us have biases. Whether we like it or not, whether we realize it or not, we all carry not one but several biases. In the previous session, I taught you about the status quo bias. In today's session, I'm going to introduce you to yet another common bias that exists in all of us, especially when it comes to making a purchase decision. It is called the confirmation bias. Simply stated, confirmation bias is a cognitive bias that is the result of the tendency that we all possess to seek out and prefer information that supports our pre existing beliefs. Humans have very limited cognitive resources, leading them to use heuristics or what can also be called as mental shortcuts to process information efficiently. Now, this can result in a bias processing where people focus on readily available information that confirms their views. All of us have it, all of us exhibit it. It affects our judgment and decision making in almost every walk of our lives. Now, confirmation bias has a very close relative, also known as information bias. They have some similarities but have one key difference. People having confirmation bias tend to seek, interpret, and recall information in a way that confirms their pre existing beliefs while deliberately ignoring or dismissing other contradictory evidence. For example, someone who believes that a particular type of diet is the most efficient will most likely pay attention to success stories while ignoring cases where the diet did not work. Information bias, on the other hand, is the tendency to see excessive amounts of information when it does not improve decision making. It is about focusing on irrelevant or redundant data. For example, a doctor might order unnecessary tests for a diagnosis despite having sufficient evidence to make a decision. Like I said, confirmation bias can happen in almost any walk of life, whether at home, at school, in sports, in the medical profession, in academics, in public service, or at the workplace. It is evident in everyday situations such as social interactions, where we tend to form friendships with like minded individuals and interpret others' behaviors through the lens of our pre existing beliefs. Even the field of medical diagnosis and research is not immune to confirmation bias, where initial hypotheses can lead researchers or doctors to overlook contradictory evidence. Overall, confirmation bias is a pervasive cognitive phenomenon that affects decision making and perception across various aspects of life. Let's examine the genesis of how confirmation bias gets formed in the professional and personal setting. It all starts with a powerful association. Now, this could be with a brand. I'm sure you know of several people in your network who strongly associate with the brand. You may know one of your best friends as being a Nike fan, for example, or someone else being obsessed with Apple products, or someone who displays an almost blind loyalty to a particular politician or a leader. What happens is that this leads them to filter out all information that contradicts their attachment to that brand. A very strong initial impression generally is the reason why someone gets anchored to a brand by way of loyalty. So, if the first interaction is positive, customers are more likely to interpret subsequent experiences in favorable light, even if they appear subpar. Now, customers rely heavily on reviews by others to further solidify their opinions. Confirmation bias causes them to seek out and trust feedback that aligns with their pre existing beliefs. So, a combination of a very strong brand association, reinforced by impressions and reviews, may cause an individual to dismiss better or competitive offerings as inferior without objectively evaluating them. This bias reinforces their loyalty by keeping them within their comfort zone of a familiar brand or a service. And you thought that only we human beings are biased? Even AIs have biases. Of course, the key difference is that these AIs learn and mirror the biases that exist in us. So much of our training data that these AI models use in itself are riddled with biases that these AI models start to display them as well. And we've got so many examples of these biases every day. Whether it is LLMs like DAL-E showing bias when asked to generate images of successful people, they tend to disproportionately generate images of men, reinforcing societal stereotypes. Or in extreme cases, like with the Chinese LLMs, where they are explicitly trained to carry certain biases, especially on issues pertaining to political affiliation and to align with the rhetoric of the Chinese government. You can go and check historically how most of the financial algorithms tend to charge a higher rate of interest to a certain race of people. These biases exist even in algorithms used by the judiciary. There is no escaping it. So, people who rely on AI to base their decisions can end up jumping to wrong conclusions and taking a flawed decision. In my next video, I shall teach you a very simple four-step process to unearth and resolve confirmation bias. Meanwhile, I hope you found this session valuable. As always, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. I am eager to hear your comments, feedback, and about topics that you may like me to cover in the coming sessions. Till next week, happy selling.